This is the fifth module of the 10th chapter. Today we prove the classic Wedderburn theorem on finite division rings. In the beginning of the 20th century, Wedderburn proved that every finite division ring is a field. Now it has become a classic in algebra, and the result is unexpected in the sense that it interrelates two seemingly unrelated things. One is the number of elements and the other is commutativity of multiplication. I think you can recall the result that a finite semigroup in which both the cancellation laws hold is a group. Notice that here the condition that the semigroup contains only finitely many elements is not sufficient to ensure the existence of identity and inverse. Rather, the condition that both the cancellation laws hold, I think, is more important. So, there we had a condition on multiplication and we get some other ramifications using the condition that it has only finitely many elements. Similar for the result, every finite integral domain is a field. But in this theorem, we do not assume any condition related with multiplication. We have the only condition that the division ring contains only finitely many elements, and we prove that in this case the multiplication must be commutative. Here we prove this Wedderburn theorem with the help of cyclotomic polynomials. First, let us recall some elementary properties of the nth roots of unity. If n is a positive integer, then a complex number u is said to be an nth root of unity if u to the power n is equal to 1. For every positive integer n, there are n distinct nth roots of unity which are of the form cos 2k pi by n plus I sin 2k pi by n, which has equivalent expression e to the power 2k pi I by n, where k varies from 0 to n minus 1. Let us denote the set of all nth roots of unity by Cn. Then it is easy to check that Cn forms a cyclic group with respect to multiplication. Since any two cyclic groups of the same order are isomorphic, so it follows that this group Cn with respect to multiplication is isomorphic to the group Zn with respect to addition. And you know that every cyclic group of order n has phi n generators. Since the nth roots of unity are distinct, so Cn contains n elements and hence the cyclic group Cn also has phi n generators. Now we classify the nth roots of unity into two groups. For this, let me first define primitive nth root of unity. If n is a positive integer, then a complex number xi is said to be a primitive nth root of unity if xi is a generator of the cyclic group Cn. Thus, xi is a primitive nth root of unity if and only if every nth root of unity u can be expressed as a power of xi. Since xi is a generator of the cyclic group Cn of n elements, it follows that order of xi is equal to the number of elements in Cn is equal to n. Since order of xi is n, so xi to the power n equal to 1, but xi to the power m is not equal to 1 for every positive integer m less than n. Thus, we have a complex number xi is a primitive nth root of unity if and only if xi to the power n equal to 1, but xi to the power m is not equal to 1 for every integer m greater than 0 less than n. Thus, a primitive nth root of unity is a root of x to the power n minus 1, but not a root of x to the power m minus 1 for any positive integer m smaller than n. So, the non-primitive nth root of unity are those which are root of x to the power n minus 1 as well as root of some polynomial x to the power m minus 1 for some m strictly less than n. Thus, the nth roots of unity is divided into two parts, one namely primitive nth roots of unity and the other is the non-primitive nth roots of unity. For example, the primitive second root of unity is minus 1 and there are two primitive third roots of unity namely omega and omega square, where omega is minus 1 plus I root 3 by 2 and omega square is minus 1 minus I root 3 by 2. There are two primitive fourth roots of unity namely I and minus I and so on. Now, we have the following characterization of the primitive nth roots of unity. Here we show that e to the power 2k pi I by n is a primitive nth roots of unity if and only if k is a positive integer less than n which is relatively prime to n. Here we prove this result using isomorphism. Recall the result that in the cyclic group Zn, an element box K is a generator of Zn if and only if K is relatively prime to n. We will use this result here. Suppose n is a positive integer, denote omega equal to 2 e to the power 2 pi I by n. Then omega is a generator of the cyclic group Cn, and so if we define psi Zn to Cn by psi box k is equal to omega to the power k, then psi becomes an isomorphism from Zn onto Cn, and hence omega to the power k that is e to the power 2k pi I by n becomes a generator of Cn if and only if box k is a generator of Zn which is equivalent to k is relatively prime to n, and thus the result follows. For every positive integer n, the polynomial x to the power n minus 1 can be expressed as a product of linear factors like x minus u, where u is a complex number which is a nth root of unity. Now we see that the factor of the polynomial x to the power n minus 1 obtained by the product of the factors x minus xi, where xi is a primitive nth root of unity, is specially important and which we call here cyclotomic polynomial. Let n be a positive integer, then the nth cyclotomic polynomial, which we denote by phi n, is defined by phi n x is equal to product of all x minus xi, where xi runs over nth primitive roots of unity. Since there are exactly phi n primitive nth roots of unity, where this phi is the Euler phi function phi, so degree of the nth cyclotomic polynomial phi n x is equal to phi n. For example, the second cyclotomic polynomial is x plus 1. Recall that minus 1 is the only second primitive root of unity, and so we have here the only factor x minus minus 1, that is x plus 1. Since there are only two third primitive roots of unity, namely omega and omega square, so we have the third cyclotomic polynomial phi 3x is equal to x minus omega into x minus omega square, which is equal to x square plus x plus 1. Similarly, we have the fourth cyclotomic polynomial phi 4x is x minus I into x plus I is equal to x square plus 1, and you can check that the fifth cyclotomic polynomial phi 5x is equal to x to the power 4 plus x cube plus x square plus x plus 1. There is a fantastic similarity between the cyclotomic polynomials phi px, where p is prime. Look at the polynomial phi 2x, it is x plus 1, phi 3x, it is x square plus x plus 1, and phi 5x, it is x to the power 5 plus x cube plus x square plus x plus 1. Can you guess phi px? Anyway, notice that these all are monic polynomials with integer coefficients. Now we prove that every cyclotomic polynomial is monic and coefficients are integers. Here we prove the following three properties of the cyclotomic polynomials. In the first, we show that x to the power n minus 1 is the product of the cyclotomic polynomials phi dx, where d runs over the positive divisors of n. And next we prove that for any positive integer n, the nth cyclotomic polynomial phi n x is a polynomial over Z. And the third result is that for every positive divisor m of n such that m is not equal to n, we have the nth cyclotomic polynomial phi n x is a divisor of x to the power n minus 1 by x to the power m minus 1 in Zx. That is, the quotient we obtain in this division is a polynomial in Zx. Let us prove the first. We can express the polynomial x to the power n minus 1 as a product of the linear factors x minus u, where u is a nth root of unity. Let us rearrange these factors in the following way. And to do this, first note that if u is a nth root of unity, then u becomes an element of the cyclic group Cn, which contains only n elements, and hence order of u must be a divisor of n. So, we rewrite this product as product of all the factors x minus xi, where xi is a nth root of unity and order xi equal to d. And we write all these factors x minus xi together depending on d, where d is a divisor of n. Since order of xi is equal to d, so xi to the power d is equal to 1, which implies that xi is also a member of CD, and order xi equal to d implies that xi actually becomes a generator of the group CD, that is, xi becomes a primitive dth root of unity. Thus, the rearrangement actually gives us the product of all dth primitive roots of unity together, where d runs over the positive divisors of n, and thus from the definition of cyclotomic polynomial, it follows that x to the power n minus 1 is equal to product of all phi dx, where d runs over the positive divisors of n. Now we prove the second result by induction on n. For n equal to 1, the result follows trivially. Assume that all mth cyclotomic polynomial phi m x belongs to Zx, where m is smaller than n. Now we have x to the power n minus 1 is equal to product of all phi dx, where d is a divisor of n, which can be written as phi n x into product of all phi dx, where d is a proper divisor of n. Let us denote this product by qx, and then we get x to the power n minus 1 is equal to phi n x into qx. From the induction hypothesis, all phi dx are polynomials over Zx, since d is less than n. And so Qx being a product of monic polynomials in Zx follows that Qx is a polynomial over Z and also it is monic. Thus, phi n x becomes a quotient of two monic polynomials x to the power n minus 1 and Qx, both are over Z, and thus it follows that the nth cyclotomic polynomial phi n x becomes a polynomial over Zx. Now for the third problem, since m is a divisor of n, every divisor of m is also a divisor of n, and hence we can rearrange the product phi dx in the following way. So, we have x to the power n minus 1 is equal to the product of all phi dx, where d is a divisor of m, and product of all phi dx, where d is a divisor of n, but d is not a divisor of m. From the problem 1, it follows that the product of all phi dx, where d is a divisor of m, is actually the polynomial x to the power m minus 1. Then bring out the factor phi n x from the second product, and we get x to the power n minus 1 is equal to x to the power m minus 1 into phi n x into fx, where fx is a product of the cyclotomic polynomials phi dx, and hence fx is a polynomial over z. Thus, it follows that fx is the quotient we get when x to the power n minus 1 by x to the power m minus 1 is divided by the nth cyclotomic polynomial phi n x, and the result follows. There are many other properties of the cyclotomic polynomials. One of them I would like to mention here. Every cyclotomic polynomial phi n x is an irreducible polynomial. Euler first proved the result for the cyclotomic polynomials phi n x, where n is a prime integer, and then he himself proved the result for every positive integer n. And so, every cyclotomic polynomial becomes a monic and irreducible polynomial having roots nth primitive roots. So, if xi is a nth primitive root, then its minimal polynomial is the nth cyclotomic polynomial phi n x. Now, we prove the main theorem of this module, that is the Wedderburn theorem on finite division ring. The result states that every finite division ring is a field. Let D be a finite division ring, denotes its center Zg is equal to x belongs to D such that x commutes with every element A of D by Z. Then Z becomes commutative and a subdivision ring of D, that is Z is a field, and hence D is a finite dimensional vector space over Z. Denote the dimension of D over Z by n and assume that Z contains q elements. Then it can be proved easily that D has exactly q to the power n elements. We show that n equal to 1, and this will imply D is equal to Z, forcing D to be commutative, and thus the result will be proved. So, our goal is to prove that n is 1. If possible, on the contrary, assume that n is not 1, that is n is greater than 1. Then the center Z becomes a proper subset of the division ring D. So, there are elements A in D which are not in Z. Consider the centralizer of A, that is CA is equal to the collection of all elements X of D which commutes with A. Then CA is a subdivision ring of D and Z is a subfield of CA. So, similarly as above, it follows that order CA is equal to q to the power Na for some positive integer Na, and Na depends on A. Since A does not belong to Z, so CA is not equal to D, and hence Na is not equal to N. We claim that actually Na is a divisor of N. Since Ca star, that is the non-zero elements of Ca, is a group with respect to multiplication, and it is a subgroup of D star D. So, it follows by the Lagrange's theorem that q to the power Na minus 1 because we are considering only non-zero elements. So, q to the power Na minus 1 is a divisor of q to the power n minus 1, and hence it follows that Na is a divisor of n. Now, consider the conjugacy relation in the group D star dot. Then the order of the conjugacy class CLA of A in D star is the index of the subgroup Ca star in D star, which is equal to q to the power n minus 1 by q to the power Na minus 1, and the conjugacy class equation of D star becomes q to the power n minus 1 is equal to q minus 1, that is the order of Z star, plus summation of q to the power n minus 1 by q to the power Na minus 1, where Na is a divisor of n and unequal to n, and the sum is carried out over a set of distinct representatives A of the conjugacy classes which are not in Z D star. Now, for every Na dividing n and unequal to n, we have phi n x is a divisor of x to the power n minus 1 by x to the power Na minus 1, which implies that phi n q is a divisor of q to the power n minus 1 by q to the power Na minus 1. Also, we have phi n q is a divisor of q to the power n minus 1. Hence, the conjugacy class equation implies that phi n q is a divisor of q minus 1. Now, we show that q minus 1 is smaller than phi n q, and this will lead us to a contradiction, and the result will be proved. To show that phi n q is greater than q minus 1, note that phi n q is the product of all q minus xi, where xi is a primitive nth roots of unity. Now, for every root of unity xi which is not equal to 1, we have modulus of q minus xi is greater than q minus 1, and this implies that phi n q is equal to product of all modulus q minus xi, and this is greater than q minus 1, and the result follows that n equal to 1 forcing D equal to Z is a field. Thus, we have proved that every finite division ring must be commutative, that is, must be a field. As I mentioned earlier, that this theorem is unexpected in the sense that it interrelates two seemingly unrelated things, namely number of elements and commutativity of a binary operation. But this is not rare in mathematics. That is why now the Wedderburn theorem is being applied to various branches of mathematics, including projective geometry.